Three, two, one. Hello, everyone. You're listening to another Coffees with Toffees podcast. I will be your host, Flubb, and this is the Brewmaster's Draft, a show that we talk a little bit about beer and a little bit about Dota. Today, we have Kimbrell coming back to the studio with us, and he is now a married man. So, Kimbrell, how's it feel being a newlywed, and how was your honeymoon?
It feels pretty good. Be blunt and kind of honest, it doesn't feel much different since we've been living together, but getting used to the ring has been a little bit, and then just the fact our last name is not mine and she's signing it and stuff like that, it's been pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, and the honeymoon was great. I had a great time. There were some like kind of negative spots, mainly the fact it was a cruise. We went on a cruise and it was great, blast, but there were issues that like I wanted to spend more time in the places we were at, but we were only given a certain amount of time. So like we would go do our excursion and then we'd have like an hour and a half to 2 hours to like eat and then get back on the boat. So I'm one of those guys that likes to explore a little bit more, I guess. And so I was looking forward to that. So I think my favorite day, actually, I think we both agreed that our favorite day was a day we had just in a town. We didn't have an excursion that day and we just explored and walked around, and it was relaxing, but it was also really cool just to kind of see. It was like a small, neat little town, and just to see all this stuff. So, but I had a great time though overall, and the wedding went like about as perfect as it could. So the last week last week and a half has been solid. 2 weeks, right?
Nice.
Yeah,
yeah,
2 weeks.
about 2 weeks now. But yeah, that's good. Obviously, there's always a lot of things that people always have. Maybe it's just like I've seen too many romantic comedies or something, but always seems to be there's something that goes wrong at a wedding every single time. And like if no bad stuff happened, I'm happy for you, man. That's great to have, because apparently they are the craziest thing to have, like all these things out of order and stuff like that. And the weddings I've been to in the past, like I feel like there's always something that goes wrong, right?
Yeah. I mean, I can't say that it was like there was nothing that went wrong, because there was like a couple things, like we didn't. The only thing I would do really is I would add an extra hour onto the wedding, because we didn't get to do like the garter toss and stuff like that, like the traditional stuff. But it was still a great time. The only like major issues I had personally was I wouldn't stop sweating. I don't know why. I just I was nervous for a bit, I'm sure, and then after a while I was like, I'm good to go. I'm calm, but I'm still sweating out of every pore in my body. Well, it's awful.
I don't know about you, man, but being in those suits, like you're just all suit or tux or whatever you're going into. Probably tux, obviously, you're married stuff, but like whenever I would get up on, I was a groomsman a couple times, and whenever you're like in that spotlight, I feel like they have like cookers like right on you, because you're on so many different lights. And like I wasn't even the one getting married. I can't even imagine the feeling you have up there. Like every light is on you, and there's just like feels like you're just under a tanning light with all of that clothes on.
Right, exactly. And then you just gotta, I was running around like a freaking, like I had my head chopped off or whatever. Like, hey, hi. Like I hardly got to eat. I'd asked my sister, who was a bridesmaid, I was just like, can you make me a plate? And she made me one, and then I didn't get to it till like 30 minutes later, and it was all cold. But
yep, that seems to be like that's what happens in weddings. Like people just don't. It's to enjoy and like get everyone together, but it doesn't always happen as what we have in our mind. It's like, oh man, we got like, this is so great, this is so awesome, but man, if I could just eat like a little bit of food right now, it'd be that much better.
Right.
Most of the time I see people are pretty drunk because you can't get enough food in you. You're just like toast every second. So
yeah, Megan actually only had a drink with our toast and then one other drink, and we had signature drinks, like 2 signature and then just an open bar in general. And I had like 5 or 6 while she only had 1. So that probably helped out with my sweating as well.
Yeah,
or it didn't help out, made my sweating worse.
All right, so Kimbrell just told me this. Obviously, those of you who are listening in on the podcast will not have this problem, but you're going to hear some typing here in a little bit. Normally, I do a really good job at this. For some reason, I am dumb, and I forgot to put the names of stuff up right now, so I'm fixing it, and hopefully the typing doesn't get too annoying in your guys' ears. We're going to continue to talk about stuff. So while I'm typing this in, normally I wouldn't have you stretch it out at this point, but
oh no, I can talk about myself all day.
that's what we're here for, man. That's what we're here for. So what was your favorite part of your honeymoon, I guess, real quick, before we jump into the draft here?
Besides exploring that town that we were in, it's Ketchikan is what the town was called. Besides exploring that, it probably favorite excursion was, oh man, that one's tough because we went to a glacier, which was really dope.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
Yeah, dude. We only got to see like 5% of the entire glacier, but it was huge anyway. So we went to that and it was really cool. And then after that, we went to like a salmon bake. Just really good salmon, really good food. And I mean, obviously I love my food. So it was, and it was better than the food on the boat, which was great. So that was great. We did a train ride like up to like the top of like a mountain or whatever, which was really cool. Just seeing what sights. It was like a 2.5 hour trip up because the train in front of us was going super slow. They were like having issues. And so once you get to the top, they pretty much like they turn you around and you go back down, and on the way back down it was only an hour trip. So it was a lot faster going down, but that was a lot of fun. And then we just did a whale watching thing, which was really cool.
Nice.
We saw like a family of orcas, which was pretty nice. It was cool. I was like sitting there like waiting for them to do some SeaWorld stuff, like, please come on, jump out of the water. The guy on the boat was explaining like they typically don't do that unless like they're not hunting, but he was like, you can tell they're hunting because they were staying in this one specific area, and he's like, oh, I'm pretty sure they've found something and they're actually eating. So it was really cool. But so I'd probably excursion wise, I would say my favorite thing would probably be the train ride, even though it was a little miserable on the way up. It was just really cool to see like all the, I don't know, just get up on top of a freaking mountain. It wasn't like super high, but it was high enough where I was just, I don't know, it was really cool. And the water was like blue while we were up there, with all the oxygen, extra oxygen that's in it. But yeah,
that's pretty cool, man. I've never seen water that clear before, except for in Seattle. It was pretty clear that one time I went there. But well, most importantly, we got to be talking about our beers that we're drinking today. So, Kimbrell, what are you drinking today, man?
All right, man. So I have this liquor store near my apartment that I usually go to, and it's kind of small. So I was like, I'm gonna go to a bigger one. See, I'm sure they have better options. And I went, and they didn't. It was terrible. I don't know if they were just out of stock or what, but a lot of the shelves were empty. But the one that I ended up getting is called Doggy Style, I believe. Yeah, and it's by Flying Dog, I guess that's their brand name. I don't know. It says Flying Dog and Doggy Style on it.
I think I've heard of that actually. Like,
yeah.
Where's its brewery at?
Let's see if I can find it on here.
Okay. Because that name sounds super familiar. I'm pretty sure I've had that somewhere around here as well. I think it's pretty good.
It doesn't. Yeah, I mean it's a pale ale, so it's right up my alley. I think probably right up your alley. So
nice.
It does not say where it is brewed though, which is irritating me. But anyway, yeah, that's what I'm drinking. What about you? What are you drinking?
I'm drinking 8-Ball Stout. It's good old stout. Can't go wrong. Yeah. This is the little art there. Little 8-ball on it, and it is by Lost Coast Brewery, and it is a 5.8 alcohol, whatever abbreviation thing. So yeah, it's classic stout. Can't go wrong. I'm liking it already. This is a good day, man. I'm ready to talk about some drafting. Real
quick, just giving my brother a quick shout out.
Oh yeah.
I was just gonna be drinking out of a bottle today, but my brother got me these awesome. This is Pilsner or whatever, Pilsner glass, but I've also got other ones, just a mug and just a regular, just a couple other different glasses. But got that for us for our wedding. It's basically pretty much for me. She has more wine glasses than I know what to do with, so I finally actually have something, like, if I don't feel like drinking out of a bottle, which I don't really mind drinking out of a bottle or a can, but it's kind of nice to have the option not to. So that's what I'm drinking out of today. It's Shout out to my brother. He'll never see this, but shout out to him.
Well, that's good. I mean, I wish I had that. I mean, it's pretty awesome beer glass. Let's be honest. That's pretty tall boy. So, I'm a little jealous. Obviously, that's a gift of being, you know. Obviously, you get all the different gifts from the wedding, and that's great that he like did something specific for our show. Hopefully, or maybe he was just doing it specific to you. Either way, that's really cool, and I'm happy that he got something to give our show a little bit more cred. Obviously, so that's awesome. All right, let's talk about the draft. I got a great one for you today, Kimbrell. I'm pretty excited about it. So I hate Jakiro, and I love having him on my team, but I can't stand the hero. So if you do get a chance to be able to get him through your draft, this is an idea that I have for all of you guys who like to play that style of pushing lineups that have that harassment in lane potential that aren't too weak on team fight. So it has a lot of different layers in this draft. And the idea here is to pick up Jakiro first, give that availability, which he does all three of those things in spades. So you pick up Jakiro and Underlord. And these are the first two that you're going to want to pick up. And you want to probably get first pick because later on in the draft it's going to matter more. Whereas if you have second pick, you can pick these up really quickly, but it doesn't matter if they counterpick these two because there's kind of a special way you're going to run with the draft at that point. You're going to then want to go into your second phase. And when you go into your second phase, you're going to want that Visage and Puck picked up. And you're going to want Visage and Puck because they offer very good lane harassment. They are very good at... Puck kind of shores up your team fight problems that you're going to have because Underlord Jakiro is really great, but it doesn't offer a lot of stun. It's a lot of slow, a lot of root, and then you have one long-range stun that's decent, but you don't pick it up very quickly. So you kind of need to have something else to fill that void. So the birds kind of give you that availability of giving you that stun, have a lot of push out of lane potential, which that's kind of the whole draft is, kind of overpowering your lanes. And then Puck shores up the team fight. And how you wrap it all up is you wrap it all up with a Drow at the end. And Drow makes Jakiro, Visage, and Puck incredible heroes. I just watched a game that NP did in Zotac, I believe is the tournament, and it's kind of inspired by this because, you know, it's something that we haven't seen in a while, but Drow Puck is just insane. And he was hitting over 70 as a Puck in lane. So there's a lot of ways that you can kind of harass out a Puck and give him problems with certain heroes, but if you can get that Drow to help him out, its potential is insane, and he almost doesn't need a partner in lane. He can basically outlast hit the person and get into safety with his own use abilities. So a great opportunity there. I was looking at my draft and I'm thinking you're probably going to want to do like split pushing or pushing altogether as one. Generally I like the 5-man push with this lineup. And when I'm thinking of that, I want to stop different things from happening. So I want this 5-man push lineup, and I want to lane it in such a way that I can push out and win every lane, because I don't want them to have any potential to kind of react and destroy my 5-man. So what I want to do is I want to put Underlord off lane with Jakiro backing him up. So you have that ability to just blast them down, use all your spells, harass them out of lane, and kind of keep them at bay, while Underlord lowers their ability to generally auto-attack and give you a lot of potential in lane to just force people out. So you're picking your two off-laners pretty much at the very beginning, forcing them out and having a big problem. Now that kind of lessens up your other lanes. So you want to pick up that, while you're picking up that Visage, is with Drow Visage, you can pretty much take any off-laner, and they're probably going to have it picked up by the time you're going to pick the Drow anyway. And if you see that they're picking up a Tide or a Clock or any of these melee guys, Drow can kind of solo them to a point, and then you can have Visage go gank for the Puck. And if you have that Puck as your fourth pick, then you have the availability of, okay, they countered me on the very last pick, but the Visage will be able to come in and help out that lane and force them out of lane with just the potential of how much Drow's damage is. So that's kind of the idea here. And you're picking Drow at the end because even if you, excuse me, even if you have a situation where they do ban out the Drow, you can easily pick up a Weaver instead, and it really helps out the draft pretty much the same way. It's a guy who can solo by himself, very good at pushing. You can grab Deso on him. Hard to lock down is kind of a newer thing that it kind of gives the draft, so it makes it a little bit safer than the Drow to begin with, and you don't need to have as much babysitting in the beginning. So it kind of gives the draft a different feel, but it still kind of provides the same feeling towards the end. And you ban out these Witch Doctor and Enchantress to stop the potential of shutting down a duo lane. Witch Doctor is really good at doing that. It's great in a tri lane. If you're going try, I love picking up Witch Doctor, and I love that potential of what he can do. Plus, you have a lot of tanky guys here in that off lane, Jakiro and Underlord, so you don't want that Maledict doing its damage on what it does. Also, Enchantress is a hero that is kind of a problem right now, and not only do you have this creep that's going to be doing extra spell damage and damage in general, but you can't deal with Enchantress by just making her explode. The only two that can do that are Puck and Visage, and they're going to be nowhere near the lane, and they can really push out the potential of the Jakiro Underlord. Honestly, I think that you can get by if Enchantress goes through, but it's kind of one of those things to ban out that could be a problem if they have a really good Enchantress, and it kind of makes them think that you're not going for a push strat in the very beginning. Jakiro and Underlord both have the potential to push, but Jakiro can be used for other things that are important towards the draft, and same thing with Underlord. He can be used as a getting away component. You also have Nyx and Templar Assassin as your next two bans, and you want to ban out Nyx because Nyx's potential to just blow up Drow or Puck is too good to be able to just exist in the game. And Templar Assassin, no matter how good your right click is, Templar Assassin's going to beat you, and she's going to punish you in lane. So it's not something that you want to have. I've just banned out Tinker at the end just because I freaking hate that hero at this point. Honestly, I was racking my brain by the end and thinking, what are the things that really hurt me at this point? And it's like, well, I have a lot of things that if Puck has problems with, they won't be problems late game because of a root and stun system that I have set up later on in the game. And just kind of brought together this whole draft. I was like, well, honestly, Visage birds can kind of deal with Tinker. If they're next to Visage, you can tank up a little bit. You get a pipe early enough on one of your heroes and pipe up the birds so that they can run through and find him. There's a lot that you can do to stop him out at this point. And there's still, you still got a silence from Drow. You still have a lot of different things. So if you are not having the Drow, it's kind of a side thing that I would ban out for. So if you're not able to pick up the Drow and you're picking up the Weaver, Weaver doesn't do quite as much versus Tinker. But he still does something with bugs. So that's kind of my thought process. Kimbrell, how you going to destroy my draft, man? Let's hear it.
Okay. I like the draft. It's really interesting, especially we used to run the Puck Drow back when I played and captain on the Doppy Devils. Mm-hmm. Just that's something, it's super strong. I've talked about it before, I think, a while back, is it allows Puck to rely on his right click, Celestia, and harass. He doesn't necessarily have to use a lot of mana. That mana can basically be for, I'm going to kill this guy, and he uses an orb or something like that. So I think that's really good. Let's see. Originally, you had it as you put it as a first pick draft. Okay. So the draft, I think I would go with to maybe counter it or try to counter it. I wrote down Bristleback. One, that hero is really strong right now. Two, I think he deals with most of them pretty well. Until the Drow gets a Silver Edge, and then by that time, hopefully he has like a tanky items or a blade mail or something like that. I think Ricky would be good. I feel like Ricky's always pretty good against heroes like Puck and Jakiro, and also Drow. They're both all three pretty squishy until like late, and Ricky does quite a bit of damage. And his ult, once he gets a Diffusal Blade, his ult does some work against that team. The other heroes I put down was Winter Wyvern. I felt like if you run a duo lane with Wyvern and then the carry, I put Anti-Mage. If you ran that, if you need to, against an Underlord Jakiro lane, Anti-Mage could always get like just a point in his magic resist if he needs to. The only thing about Wyvern is the heal. You have a decent amount of magic damage on your team, so the heal would have to be like in the right spot. It can't be just out in the middle of a fight or something like that, like you can in like against physical damage heroes. But I picked Anti-Mage because I feel like you mentioned, you are trying to push 4 or 5. And so with an Anti-Mage, once that hero gets a Manta, there's not a whole lot of lockdown. You have Puck's ult, Underlord's Root, and then Jakiro. So I feel like Anti-Mage would be able to split push quite a bit. And the other 4 heroes I have, and then an Invoker, I think, is what I would pick as to round out the rest of the draft. I think you could also run a different mid. I'm not sure, like maybe like a Zeus or something like that. I think a Zeus would be good because those are some squishy heroes that a Zeus would do well against. So something like that, something Invoker or Zeus, something that provides team fight mid, I think would go pretty well, and that would allow those 4 heroes, the Ricky, Wyvern, Zeus, and Bristleback, are kind of able to just team. I mean, they can team fight, and Anti-Mage can come in if he needs to, or he can just continue to split push, since you're going to be probably grouped as at least 3, more than likely 4 or 5. So I feel like the catch is the biggest issue on the team that you have drafted. Okay. Besides that, I think it's a good draft. I think it'd be a lot of fun. You'd be putting out a lot of damage. And then the Wyvern ult, I didn't mention this, the Wyvern ult would do work against whoever you pick. As long as it's not like Underlord, whoever you pick is going to die. Like if you ult Puck, that Puck's going to die because you have 3 ranged heroes hitting you with the Drow aura, and then Underlord, who has his own aura, hitting you. Or honestly, any of the heroes, even if you pick Drow or Jakiro, any of the heroes that you want to focus down, Wyvern ults if they're grouped up, and as you mentioned, you running to push as a group, I feel like they just kind of die. So, yeah, that's what I got for you.
Wyvern is a really good pick. I did not think of that, and you're right. There's a real big problem with Wyvern in this draft. There's a lot of potential. I mean, obviously, Drow is one of those heroes that you're not really having any enemies next to you, so you just shoot them and they deal tons of damage. So you kind of have to space yourself correctly if there's a Wyvern there. And it's hard to always just say, yeah, just space yourself correctly, because there's certain things that happen, and team fights can get chaotic, and you can't generally micromanage everything at that point where everyone's going to be. So that is a very strong way to counter the draft. I do disagree about Anti-Mage, though, because I have 2 silences at this point, and Ricky for this. So I have 2 silences, and I have my root system. And this is kind of what I've been excited about this whole time. I've been, like, shaking. I love going for, because we talked about it when we went to, what was it? It was the last patch. You weren't able to do it, to see it, but we kind of talked about it, the Brewmaster's draft after the patch notes that we did, and Atos on frickin' Underlord, dude, it's so good. It keeps them like revealed for like 6 seconds, and they're rooted for like 6 seconds.
I remember playing a game with you where you played Underlord. Actually, I think we had Underlord Jakiro, and you got the Rod of Atos, and it was crazy. I think it was against an Ember, and he was just like not able to do anything.
Exactly, and that's also a thing that I was thinking about. Is like, okay, so if they do pick up Ember mid, I don't care. Like Puck's right click is so strong, and I have so much root versus him, so there's so much possibility there. And that's kind of the thing about this draft, right? Like, I could go Atos on Underlord, or I could go Mech on Underlord and go into that Greaves pipe lineup, or Greaves Mana Boots Mech lineup for him, and then I could have Jakiro with the availability of getting the Atos to set him up for stuff, and then help him in team fights. So you have kind of a give and take there on how you want to set up your lineup. You could have one guy go for atos, and the other guy going for like the general AoE heal, keeping people alive build. And you have like so much give and take between those two in that lineup. And that's kind of like the crux of this lineup is Jakiro Underlord. So that's kind of why the whole draft I was like, yeah, it's a Jakiro draft because of those reasons. And then you go into who was the other guys that you said? You said Anti-Mage, Ricky. So those two are taken care of. Invoker's not my favorite matchup versus Puck. It's kind of even because he right-clicks so hard you can't dodge all of them. But his potential doesn't. I don't see his potential anywhere near as much because you can't use your snap as effective as you could versus other people because you can do the whole blink out of existence. So that could be a problem, but honestly, I don't think it's too big. And what I love about this draft more than anything else is if you do pick up Clockwork, I got birds blocking the hook shot. So you can't hook me out of it with a pudge. You can't hook me into it with a freaking Clockwork. The only thing that I was kind of worried about a little bit was Storm, and then I was like, well, I got the Root Machine. I got him locked down for forever, even if he jumps. And there's a lot of give and take there. And you can also go into Underlord Aghs, and Underlord Aghs, new Aghs Scepter, when you get it later on, everyone right-clicks like Drow. It is awesome. It's so great. But I think that I do see some of the problems. And honestly, Winter Wyvern is probably your best counter yet. I'm like thinking through this, and I'm like, man, I wish I thought of that. Because someone's dead on the team instantly. And I don't even know if Underlord would be able to survive that, man.
Yeah.
Because those are all ranged heroes, and they all benefit from Drow. That is a nasty, nasty idea. Thing is, though, he would have to deal with a dual lane, so there is that type of thing, but he's not too bad at going versus dual lane. Who's the other support you said you'd have with him?
The other one, well, it was a roaming Ricky. That's what I had. So
roaming Ricky. Okay. I think if you went more aggressive in the tri lane, I would have a bigger problem. Like maybe
I could pick
even
up like an ogre or something like that.
Yeah, ogre could work, or maybe even like Earthshaker to be able to separate people could work. Just give you an extra barrier, to work with. Because like the magic damage isn't strong. It's strong on Jakiro, but it's not really strong on Underlord until he gets a few levels. So you could just heal through it if you pick it right, and you could Winter Blast. Does quite a bit of damage. So yeah, interesting. I like it. Okay, so we've kind of talked about it a little bit, but I kind of want to go into the items at this point. So I kind of talked about the whole like Jakiro and Underlord going back and forth on that. Some stuff I kind of want to throw out there to people is like how you want to set up your early game and possibly for later on. So we know in the mid game we're going to be looking for mana boots on both of these guys, and you're either going to go mech into Greaves, and then the other person's going to go into the Atos pipe lineup for this draft no matter what, because there's no draft unless you're going like negative armor draft that pipe is not needed. Pipe is almost always needed every game. So you look into these guys, and I'm looking at. Oh man, I screwed it up. Okay, I screwed up my notes here real quick. So if you're looking at Underlord, you're gonna want Stout, Tangos, Salve, and a circlet to start into the lane. You want that general being able to tank with that Stout and have a lot of regen to exist in that lane, because that's the whole purpose, is to screw with the lane to make sure that it doesn't work as planned, so that your 5-man push works out better. And then you want to go into, like later on in the game, you may want to go Crimson, Blade Mail, Lotus, or Aghs, depending on the lineup that you're going versus. If there's a lot of explosive damage, obviously Blade Mail. Crimson if there's a lot of right click. Lotus if there's a lot of single target. And Aghs is something I would just consider because it's really fun and it's really awesome, especially if they're focusing Drow constantly. Kind of makes everyone into a carry at that point. If you are going into a Jakiro, though, I really like Lotus as well on him. but euls is something that's a classic combo. Sets you up for your stun, sets you up for a lot of different things. And something that I didn't mention about the whole setup is that Jakrio's stun on top of Underlord's Pit will react the same way as using your Rod of Atos to reroute them. It just keeps the route even longer, and it has a lot of synergy between the two heroes. So you got your ultimate, you got just a lot of AoE damage coming out. So those two kind of like work together, and at that point, then you go into Puck, and you're gonna want a null and a GG branch with a faerie fire. Personally, I like to go the Treads Veil Blink build because, once again, like I said, there's a lot of magic damage once your mid game comes around. Gives you a lot of potential, and you don't necessarily need the blink for the early team fights. Whereas it is very helpful once the other enemy team starts getting some items. It's good to have that initiation potential to set everything up. And I actually have so you're gonna have that set up on Visage. I'm having him get the aghs and sentry, and I actually, what I've been loving to do right now is on your 5 or 4 in the situation, 5 or 4, whatever the thing is. But you have one guy get like a stick if he's going in the off lane, and get like a faerie fire. That's like my 2 favorite things to do if you're having a support going to the off lane. But if you're going into the safe lane, my new favorite thing to do is to use 2 aghs Ascent to, you know, hand out that stuff, and then get 2 sets of Tangos. And then you actually have 8 Tangos to pass out, and make the, especially if you're doing a aggressive duo lane, you can pass out an extra Tango to them, give them a little bit more regen, while giving the mid more regen, and then you still have 4 sets of Tangos to be able to push out the potential offlaner. Because a lot of times people will only buy 4, and then that guy sets out 2 Tangos, and he only has 2 Tangos in the lane, and he's all by himself to try to push out the offlane. That's like the biggest mistake that I always see. Going into the mid game at that point, I always go into like Tranquil Boots, into Urn, Medallion, Solar Crest. Love that combination. No way to beat it. Just it is the Visage lineup. If you want, you can switch up Tranquils, but it's crazy good. And then Drow is classic Drow. I mean, I don't really want to go over it too much, but Wraith Band Tango is going into, you know, possibly a second Wraith Band, Dragonlance, Yasha, Force Pike. You know, just makes sense. Classic Drow being Drow. Yeah, so do you think that there's an item thing that I forgot, or is there anything that you feel like I should take away, or maybe like an item that's like, man, why didn't you pick this item?
I don't think so. The idea of going skipping the blink on Puck's interesting, because typically it's one of the first items I pick up. But in that lineup, like you mentioned, Veil is huge, right? It's a lot better than having your blink, because you're able to put out so much magic damage. So you get that Veil and you get it early. People die really fast. So, but I don't think there's any items that I would really argue with, to be honest with you. Yeah, just thinking about it, I don't think there's really anything, sadly.
Oh, I stumped you. But is there any heroes that you were thinking about? Because I actually just thought of a hero myself, and I'm curious, do you have any heroes that you think would fit this draft better, or feel like, Flubb, you're being too greedy here. You're not going to get these heroes in this draft. Is there anything that you feel like is just banned out too much, and you would like to see a different set of heroes, or anything like that?
Well, I don't think you're gonna get Drow last pick.
Okay.
I feel like once you pick up Visage and Puck, people are gonna be like, "Hey, we should probably ban or pick this hero." So I don't personally think you'd get Drow. Now, if you drafted her a little earlier, then obviously you would get her, and you could change up maybe the Visage into a different support. You could do like honestly, you can do anybody. You can do like a Slardar support. You can do a Warlock. Warlock Jakiro that's just dumb. Like, that's a stupid amount of damage and pushing potential. You could go with the Witch Doctor yourself and just kind of and Jakiro would still be the 5, Witch Doctor the 4. Honestly, I mean, I think Visage would be the one hero that I think you could change out, and maybe move Drow forward if you need to in the draft. But I think if you pick Visage, what did you pick him at? 3rd? Yeah, I think if you pick Jakiro, Visage, and Puck, like I said, I think your Drow's just going to get banned out. And you have Weaver as a potential pickup, but it's not going to be as good as the Drow. So I would prioritize the Drow a little more, because the Drow Puck is just, I've always found that super strong. And then also on top of the Jakiro, like that, your team's hitting crazy hard. And then you have Underlord, who's also hitting pretty damn hard because he has his own aura. And then, like you mentioned, if he gets Rod of Atos and Greaves and has some farm to get aghs, like eventually all of you are going to be hitting just stupid hard. So I feel like Visage maybe it becomes redundant a little bit. Like maybe you can go with something a little different. But besides that, I mean, I still think it's a really good draft. I still think it's a lot of damage coming out, especially by like the 10-minute, 15-minute mark. Like that's, you get a lot of magic damage once Puck gets available. You have a lot of physical damage from Drow and Visage and all of that. I mean, it's well-rounded with physical and magical damage, I think. So.
Now, what do you think about Clinks instead of Drow?
I think it would be good situationally. Like if you're against a hero that, I'm trying to think of like specifics. I think it'd be okay. I mean, Clinks does a lot of damage and pushes, but again, with that aura, I think the Drow aura is just super strong. So like it kind of completes, it makes your team essentially. It doesn't make your team. And the Underlord Jakiro is super strong, but I just feel like the Drow. I know I just said if you pick it last, you probably won't get it, but picking it, especially picking it last, it just kind of rounds out that team. Like it provides that extra damage, just that extra physical damage, like we were talking about with Puck mid. So Clinks would be. It wouldn't be a bad pick, but I think I would rather go Drow still.
Yeah, makes sense. I honestly, the first time I thought of this draft, I wanted to put, instead of doing Visage, I wanted to do Ogre, and I really liked the Ogre idea because it makes Drow attack faster, makes all these guys that hit like monstrously hard attack faster. But it doesn't give that bonus that Drow needs. And I kind of feel like if you have a Drow lineup, you need to have one melee guy just because it's nice to have someone who can tank. But it's still not as useful to pick up a Drow and still only have 2 other people, one of them being a support and the other one being your core, which is nice, but I just don't see the potential of what Drow can do unless you pick up like 3 other people who are ranged, in my opinion. And maybe this would be better. If you're gonna pick up a Ogre, you can kind of push out mid lane in general with it. And if you have Ogre Clinks is kind of a solo safe laner type hero anyway to begin with. That Ogre can kind of bounce between his lane and mid and give that potential the same way that like a Visage can kind of bully people out if you had a Drow. And you're right. If you pick up Drow and Puck at the same time, people are like, oh, okay, ban Drow. I mean, I'm being Visage and Puck, yeah. Then they just ban Drow immediately. Right. So
I think so support-wise, so you get rid of the Visage. I think there's a few heroes that you could go with, just depending on what you need. Like an Ancient Apparition with Chilling Touch in lane, like that hurts. And also his ult's really good. He's got the slow, he's got the magic damage increase, and then he's got his pseudo stun that kind of meshes decently with Jakiro and adds another stun to your team. And then you also add the slows and stuff like that. Oh, there was another hero. There was like 2 other heroes. You could go with an Enigma in jungle. You would just need to make sure you ban out like a Riki or something like that, because dealing with that as an Enigma sucks. But then all of his Eidolons, I'm pretty sure, get the Drow aura. So if you kind of wanted to go with that route, you can still go with that. And then I'm just like imagining late game at 50 minutes when Enigma has his level 25 and he's getting 8 extra Eidolons and just pushing in with the Drow aura. Like, that's just crazy.
Not much for lane dominance though. If you do,
no, you don't have much lane dominance. It's more of a setback. We're gonna wait until Enigma has 6, and then we're gonna push.
Yeah.
So the lane dominance kind of goes away. And then but then you just push the crap out of people, and then you also have a Greaves carrier there, so your Underlord can go the Rod of Athos build with whatever else he wants. And then the other hero, you go with like a Leshrac. I know he's not very popular, but it kind of does. It fits in with the magic damage / push that you have going on. So those are just some of the different options I think that would be decent. Oh, and then Silencer. I think Silencer would be good if you need him. He doesn't have a stun, obviously. Neither does Visage. He has a slow, but Silencer has a slow. He has burst damage. He has he has his glaives that he can harass and lane with, along with Jakiro. Like, no one's gonna want to come to that lane. So I think that'd be another good hero. But if you wanted to go with like a melee, and then Warlock I mentioned earlier, but if you wanted to go with like a melee bully, Ogre would be good. Treant Protector would be okay, honestly. I'm imagining Treant with Jakiro and lane like that. One slow with the Treant root, and then you just kind of go from there. Like, people are going to die to that. So, and it keeps your towers healed up while you're taking down towers really fast as well. And then eventually maybe you might get aghs and get a lot of vision or something.
Honestly, I think that Warlock is probably the best thing you suggested there. I think Warlock is pretty crazy because he's a lane dominator. That's his kit right there, is lane domination and team fight. So, and push. So, like, you chose the hero that does all of it, and he's a ranged hero.
Right. And he also has Fatal Bonds with Puck and Veil, and then everybody else that's there. Like, that's a crap ton of damage. So yeah, I think Warlock provides a lot, and you might seem like you're selling like too heavy on the push, but he, like you said, is a lane dominator. He has great team fight with his ult. It's not. I've never really seen his ult as a pushing tool. I've always seen it as a team fight interrupting tool, and then you're like, hey, we won the team fight, we push with it. Obviously it pushes well, but that's just kind of what I've always seen his ult as, and I love that hero. So yeah, I think Warlock would do pretty well in that lane as well, in that lineup.
Oh, most definitely. Plus you have, I mean, the Fatal Bonds, using your upheaval to keep people locked into that area that you want to keep them locked in. Plus you got that tank ability for Drow. Like, that's the thing that I loved about the Visage, right? Was like I was talking about those hooks not coming in. You can't pick those hook heroes if you got a Visage. And that importance was kind of a linchpin for the draft, right? Whereas I was looking at all these other heroes, and you look at what Warlock brings to the table, is he just gives so much regen to the Drow and lets her exist. So, and also push people out of lane. I mean, there's a reason why the past, 3 months, even before the patch, or not even that, I feel like throughout 7.0 and up, he's been one of the most popular picks because his lane dominance is insane, and he just keeps people alive in the early game, which is what you want for laning stage.
For sure.
Sweet. All right, cool. Well, we kind of have talked about different ways to screw around with this draft. Hopefully you guys found something interesting about this. Though I think we're at the end, my friend. We kind of went through it real quick. We've gone through items, we've gone through heroes and stuff like that. But it's time to rate our beers, though. How do you rate your beer today, Kimbrell?
I've gone through 2. I'm doing my 3rd right now, so I would. it's pretty good. I would give it a 4, 4.5. I think there's a little bit of a weird aftertaste. It's not as smooth as the one I had, I think, the last week I was on, or maybe it was a week before. But it's still really good. I would probably give it a 4.
Okay, that's good. That's pretty good.
4 out of 5. Sorry.
4 out of 5.
Yeah.
Right. I personally think that this one about the same. I gave it 4 thunderclaps out of 5. It's, I don't know, man. It's just like it's good. It's good stout. Can't really go wrong. But at the same time, it's not blowing me out of the park. It's not something that's like new and exciting, and it's a classic. It's like playing in the meta. It's like, yeah, it works. It's fine, but I don't really enjoy doing it all the time. You know.
Right.
All right. Cool. So real quick, before we go into closing out the show at this point, I want to talk about some announcements. Obviously, people have heard it time and time again throughout my shows at this point, but I would just want to keep people updated on what's going on. So me and Kimbrell are trying to move to a different setup. We're going to go to a different kind of channel type situation. We both very much appreciate what Toffees has done for us, and we are still going to stay kind of in the same family as Toffees. We are probably going to use the same YouTube channel continuing forward, but we are going to switch up a lot of different stuff, so look for our tweets and our general things that we're going to be talking about in the next few episodes, or in the next month, really, in general. We are going to be switching over to a different format. So our closeout will remain the same right now, but they may change in the future. So look out for that. Alright, so if you want to help us out, you can like or subscribe to any of our videos. You can go to our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/ToffeesDota2, _Dota2. Jeez. If you want to, you can find our podcasts instead of our VODs on Stitcher, iTunes, or SoundCloud. If you have any questions for me or Kimbrell, you can follow me at my Twitter @FlubbDota, and you can follow Kimbrell at Kimbrell at @skimbrell_. Almost screwed up your entire thing. My bad, man.
You're good.
So if you guys have any questions for me, if you want to send me anything about casting in general, you can always go to my email and send me an email there at crazyflubb@gmail.com. Well, it was great catching up with Kimbrell and getting him back into the swing of things. Not that he's been too long, but it was fun, and I'm glad that you guys were here to share brew with us today. And we will catch you next week on the Brewmaster's Draft. See you later.
Bye, everyone.
Okay, everybody, keep the show open for a little bit, just so